Hello and welcome back to Jakubication. Today's video is going to be an introduction to the Java programming language. Given some file, practice.java, you organize your file like this: public class practice, which has to be the same name as your file, and then you have a main method, public static void main string args, system.out.println hello, this prints hello. And if you want to run this, you have a Java compiler installed. You run from the command line javac practice.java, and then after that you run from the command line java practice, and then this particular code will print hello. A variable is basically a box that holds values. A type defines the possible values this can be and the operations that can be done on it. A primitive type is a type whose value exists directly in the box. A reference type is a type whose value in the box is a memory location, and the actual meat and potatoes resides at the memory location in the box. Primitive types. I have a video that deep dives on this boolean concept in general if you want more than this. Booleans are values that are either true or false. Boolean operators, logical and, ampersand, true and true is true. Logical or, double bar. True double bar false is true. Logical not, bang. Bang false is true. Operators that result in a boolean, equals, evaluates to true if both values are equal. Not equals, evaluates to true if the values don't equal each other. The comparison operators work similarly. They include greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, greater than, less than. Char, a single character. Can be any English character you normally think of, as well as some bonuses. Numeric types. Listed from smallest to largest. Byte, short, int, long, float, double. Delineation. Byte, short, int, and long store numbers with no decimal parts. Float and double store decimal numbers. Ranges. Byte goes from negative 128 to 127. Short goes from negative 32,768 to 32,767. Int goes from negative 2 to the 31st to 2 to the 31st minus 1. Long goes from negative 2 to the 63rd to 2 to the 63rd minus 1. Practically, you'll only really ever be using ints, longs, and doubles. Java will actively discourage you from declaring a float variable. To get around the error, declare a float like this: float t equals 3.14f, with f being the key bit. Reference types. Strings. String s1 equals new string hello, string s2 equals new string hello, s1 equals s2 is false. Even though the strings are clearly equal, they are reference types, so equality asks the question of whether or not their memory addresses are equal. Variables. Int x equals 5. Int is the type, x is the name, although this name should be meaningful when you write code. This name should start with a letter or underscore, and after that only contain letters, numbers, or underscores. 5 is the value. Control structures. If statements. Allow you to operate code under certain conditions. Else if allows you to take multiple different paths. Else can be used whenever if and else if above it has evaluated to false. If statements. Again. Int x equals 5, if x less than 0, print out negative. If x greater than 0, print out positive, else print out 0. 5 isn't less than 0, but it is greater than 0, so this will print out positive. While loops. Do something over and over until a condition is false. Int counter equals 0, int num times equals 2, this prints high 2 times, while the counter is less than num times, print out high, and then add 1 to counter. For loops, the same main concept from while loops applies. The loop continually executes until the condition is false. Anatomy, initialize step, initialize the counter variable, int I equals 0. Condition, I less than 10. Increment step, I++. The initialize step only runs once. The condition runs at the start of each iteration. The increment step runs at the end of each iteration. Int answer equals 0, 4, int I equals 0, I less than 10, I++. Add 1 to answer. This runs the loop 10 times and answer ends up being 10. Methods and functions. A static method or a function. A static method is a function, as it can be called with no other thing I'm leaving out at this point attached to it. A function is a collection of code that you give a name that potentially has inputs and outputs. A static method is declared like so: public static int add, int n1, int n2. Don't worry about the public for now. Static I've already defined. Int is the type the function must return. Return is when a function gives a value back or exits early. Add is the name of the function. Int n1 and int n2 are the parameters of the function. If you call this function, you must provide 2 integers. Static method code. You have a main function where you do a sum and you call the add function with 2 and 3. In your add function, you're simply adding the two numbers you provided to the function together and then returning the answer. Code always starts with your public static void main string args method. One piece of this I'll explain now is that void specifies that the main method won't return any value. Ciao.